From Omro down to Mayville, from Rosendale to the Ledge, and everywhere in between, it's time to get you caught up on everything happening in the Flyway Conference. This is the Flyway Focus Sport Report, your home for the best whip-around coverage of your favorite local teams. Now, with all the latest, here's Jordan King.
Good Tuesday morning to you. The Flyway All-Conference teams have been announced across the fall sports, and we'll start in football. Lamira swept the Player of the Year awards in football. Taylor Schaumburg was the Offensive Player of the Year. Sam Schraffnagel, the Defensive Player of the Year. Schaumburg led the conference in rushing, while Schraffnagel was tops in both tackles for loss and sacks. Schraffnagel was the only player to reach at least 20 tackles for loss. He had 25, and the only double-digit sack player with 11.5. Lamira had a whopping 9 first-team selections. Schraffnagel was first-team both offense and defense. So was Caden Yankee first-team wide receiver and linebacker. Jack Lidke was a unanimous first-team defensive back. The Lions had 2 offensive linemen on the first team as well, Josh Polster and Dalton Zingzheim, and then Easton Zangel was the first-team kicker. All 3 running backs on the first team were unanimous. Schaumburg was joined by Mayville's Sawyer Hardesty and Laconia's Jack Renz. All 3 of those runners crossed the 1,000-yard mark this season, so kind of a no-brainer there, and the coaches agreed, making all 3 unanimous. Hardesty was one of 5 first-team picks for Mayville. O-lineman Logan Sarita, defensive tackle Owen Stager, and defensive back Jordan Schlender were on the first team. Hardesty also picked a second time to the first team as defensive end. Springs quarterback Ben Anderson was the first-team QB, beating out Jackson Gable from Lamira, who was the second-teamer. Springs also had first-teamers with linebackers Noah Mowell and Tate Schufs, as well as offensive lineman Beckett Longley. Campbellsport had 3 first-teamers, Amadeo Rodriguez at offensive line, Emmett Gonering at defensive line, and Blake Heltemez at linebacker. Heltemez was the second leading tackler in the conference. Colton Hagner from Laconia was a first-team linebacker as well. He led the conference in total tackles. And WLA's Frankie Wiedmeyer was a first-team defensive back. We'll have a story later on today with the full all-conference teams. That's on our website, flywayfocus.com, coming up later this morning. In volleyball, you could pick any number of Laconia players to win Player of the Year, but it was Ava Engel who earned top honors from the Flyway coaches. Engel was a terrific all-around player for the Spartans, most notably with her 221 kills. Engel was one of just 2 players to be voted unanimously to the first team. Lexi Kuhn from Springs, who led the conference in digs and was top 5 in aces, was also chosen by every coach in the conference. Middle Tierney Madigan and outside hitter Addie McCauley joined Engel on the first team from Laconia. McCauley led the conference in kills with 249. The conference picked 2 setters to the first team. Aubrey Tome from Mayville led the conference in assists, and Braylon Lewis from Springs, who split time as setter and outside. She finished 4th in assists, but she also had 151 kills for the Ledgers. Campbellsport's Ellie Smith was the only non-senior on the first team. The sophomore was second in the conference with 223 kills. Laconia got 3 more players on the second team. Libero Aubrey Leonard and both Peyton and Finley Morgan were second-teamers. Mayville's Emily Durkowski was a second-team selection. She was 4th in the conference in kills. Campbellsport got both of their setters on the second team, Carly Ward and sophomore Emma Muraski, and Omro's Brooklyn Grahams closed out the second team. We already have a story up on the website for volleyball all-conference. Find that, flywayfocus.com. Well, it's not very often you get a Player of the Year from the defender spot in soccer, but that's exactly what happened this time around. With most of the league struggling to score, they went with a defensive player. Bennett Peckhor from Lourdes Valley Christian was the Player of the Year. Lourdes gave up just 4 goals in the regular season and had a shutout streak that lasted more than 10 matches. Peckhor was joined by defender Noah Bolersu and goalkeeper Will Loker, as well as attackers Isaac Rusinski and Caleb Richardson on the first team. 5 of the 12 coming from Lourdes Valley Christian. Conference champion United had 3 first-teamers. Defender Benjamin Avila and attackers Aldo Ceballos and Giovanni Avila were all first-teamers. Ceballos was one of just 2 unanimous selections to the first team, along with CWC's Jaden Osterhaus. Winnebago Lutheran had 2 first-teamers, defender Carter Heinzelman and midfielder Colby Trewin. First team rounded out by Long Pham of Wayland Academy. Like football, we'll have a story up later today on Soccer All-Conference. Tomorrow, we're going to take a deep dive into Elmira football's state semifinal opponent, the Belleville Wildcats. Join us then for the Flyway Focus Sports Report. I'm Jordan King.